Male gynecologists of Reddit, what made you want to be a ladypets doctor, and how has it affected your view of women? Serious. I never thought I'd end up doing obgyn, but I enjoyed my rotation in medical school. The variety of the work is entertaining. We get to do surgery and office visits, and the visits tend to be procedure heavy. L&D is a lot of fun. Also, it's nice to have healthier patients, as lots of pregnancy visits are young women who aren't dying. Ultimately, I just felt like fit in with that type of doctor. Obgyns tend to be work hard, play hard type of individuals. It felt kinda weird to make the decision at first, but once I got used to it I couldn't really see myself doing much else. My father was an OB-GYN. Whenever asked about why he chose his specialty over all the others he had open to him, he said that it made him the happiest. He told me OB-GYN dealt more with the life aspect of medicine, whereas nearly every other specialty dealt with death, or the prevention of death. His father was also an OB-GYN, which may have played into it as well, considering he was running a practice at this point. In a small town, the monetary advantages of running the only private OB-GYN practice in town was also too good to pass up. Really was the perfect storm of coincidences that led him to his profession. He loved what he did and never regretted it one bit. Despite the long hours, crazy shifts, insane malpractice insurance costs, inevitable lawsuits. As far as the actual examination of ladypets, he said that it became a job like everything else. The sexual aspect was completely removed when he was in a patient's room. My uncle was a combat surgeon during World War II. When he came back he became an OB-GYN, although I'm not sure if that was the term back then. When I was in high school I jokingly asked him why he chose that area to perform in. I always thought it was some weird or pervy reason, but his answer surprised me. He said it was the furthest thing from combat medicine he could do. In the war he had seen so many horrific things that to turn around and bring little lives into the world made up for all those he couldn't save. When he passed away his obituary listed the number of lives he brought into the world safely. To him that was all that needed mentioning. Edit. Typo or sausage finger error or dreaded autocorrect issue. Edit 2. I believe the number birthed was in the thousands. Not more than 2 but over 1. He practiced from after the war, unsure exactly how soon, until the late 80s. So 5 decades and of mothers he took care of. Edit 3. Thank you all very much. I'm sure he would appreciate all the kudos. He's also probably getting a kick out of me answering replies and talking babies and lady bits every time I hit play on the World War II movie I'm watching. Edit 4. Just to make sure it's known, I'm no medical doctor. I'm a paramedic and a firefighter. My uncle was the OB-GYN doctor. Several have called me doc and it's something I'm not comfortable with since I didn't earn that title. Thanks. My grandfather had his own practice. I can share what his reasons were. He wanted a job with a lot of positivity, where sad stories are few. Supporting women through their pregnancy, answering questions from pregnant mothers was a very happy experience. Also, sexual education is important to him and he has such a great personality that young girls would come to him for advice about sex, the pill, etc. Even though he has been retired nearly a decade, women still come up to him and say, "Hey, you helped my mother deliver me." That's awesome, and definitely the best motivation I can think of for going into any medical field. I considered going into OB-GYN in med school. One thing I really liked about it is that it's usually a happy time for everyone involved. So much of medicine is depressing with lots of death and disease. With OB, the whole family comes to the hospital to celebrate. Plus C-sections are fun. It's like surgery with a prize. My medical resident wife's response to this: I dunno. If you cut out a tumor, that's kinda like a prize. 2. Doctors are weird. As a male resident physician specializing in OB-GYN, well, labor and delivery are such a rush for me and they are a wonderful experience 99% of the time. That other sad 1%, it is just as important that they have a supportive and caring doctor, if not more so. In no other specialty do people come to see me so often because they're healthy. C-sections, when indicated, are really enjoyable from a technical perspective. Reaching in and pulling that head out is awesome. When I deliver a baby to a family who really wants that baby, man, the feels. Plus I get to be the first person to hold them. Welcome to the world, little one. The feels. You get to do surgery, and you get the feels. It was an easy choice for me. I'm a 4th year male med student going into OB-GYN. Absolutely loved my 3rd year rotation. From L&D to Gyn-Onc or W Da Vinci, and from out clinic to reproductive endo. I loved every moment of it. I literally could not imagine doing anything else. Plus, OB-GYN has a huge role to play in global health. But the female preference for female providers does worry me somewhat, and honestly, it is entirely understandable. I am sorry to hear that OP has encountered some bad providers. Crappy doctors though, are found in every specialty and every hospital. I hope that my future patients will give me a chance, and would value a skillful, compassionate provider, which I hope to become, above my gender. However, one could urge that now there are more than enough female OB-GYN that are skillful and compassionate, and with all things being equal, why would one choose a male OB-GYN? That is one of the reasons why I think I will possibly subspecialize rather than become a general OB-GYN, although I would be missing out on the variety. I suppose I will find out through residency. One problem with choosing that path is access to exposure. I have an interest in OB-GYN due to the clinical surgical balance along with being a part of making families. I'm in med school now, and while I will rotate in my 3rd and 4th years, I cannot shadow like my fellow female peers can in 1st and 2nd year. So there is some sense of feeling you aren't entirely accepted. I never thought I would do OB. I actually detested the idea until I started medical school. I was all about doing it for a long time, at least until I saw C-section. That sold it for me. A few years into residency I hope to get into an MFM fellowship to work with the complications of pregnancy. As a dude doing OB-GYN, I get it. I don't have those parts. I don't have periods. I don't get pregnant. It doesn't mean that I am not compassionate. I try to treat everyone the way that I would want to be treated if I were in their shoes. I talk to people like they are people. Being a doctor is cool and all, but it doesn't make me better than them. I think that, while I lack true first-hand experience, I get where a lot of women are coming from when they have complaints. I know most people think I have a gross job, but I think I am pretty fortunate. Till that gynecologists are the happiest people ever. My dad is an OB-GYN and he really enjoys his job. My family often teases him about it, but it's actually kind of cool that he delivered so many people in my community. His patients are always really happy to see him, and he always seems to be in an especially good mood when doing the OB part, delivering babies, rather than office hours. As the other responses are saying, the best part seems to be all of the happiness that comes from most cases. My sister has 5 children, so of course there was the obvious benefit of her being able to call him at all hours and get a professional opinion on anything she was concerned about. Also, being surrounded by women didn't seem to hurt, as he ended up marrying a nurse, my mom. With all of these medical professionals around, I get surprisingly little sympathy when I'm sick. I've seen worse mentality. Side note, he had a really busy weekend of deliveries a few months ago, and I was joking around about how something must have happened 9 months prior that everyone was getting busy. He reminded me that 9 months prior was the 3 feet of snow that trapped everyone in their houses for 4 to 5 days. Hence all of the baby making. Of course, it's had downsides for me. I've had the usual onslaught of did he deliver you and is he your OB-GYN? No and no. By the way, it's kind of frustrating when your dad's job is a punchline. But then again, who did all of my friends turn to for help? I can't imagine what my dad thinks of me because of all of the times I've approached him with "so I have this friend." I believe the only downside for him that he might comment on would be the malpractice insurance of things, but I suppose that is true of any medical profession. He takes it particularly hard because he's such a perfectionist and is very hurt whenever a claim comes in. I think he has ridiculously low numbers there though. Note to the OP, I'm sorry to hear about your bad experiences. I am disappointed in any doctor who would do anything besides help his or her patient. I'd like to think my dad's one of the good ones. I sometimes overhear him answering calls from patients, and he is always taking care to listen well and explain thoroughly, even several times over when a patient is especially nervous. He's got his black belt and he also has a MA in electrical engineering, so just an all-around perfectionist geek. He's pretty cool. I'm not an OB-GYN doctor myself, but my sister is. She strongly defends the male doctors she's doing her residency with, and denies that any of them put off a creepy vibe. OB-GYN gives you a lot of freedom. It's the only medical specialty where you'll get to deliver babies, or you can stay entirely away from that and focus on women's health and STI counseling. A lot of people are attracted to the breadth of the specialty, whether they are male or female. Our first was a very difficult birth. My wife had high blood pressure, gestational diabetes, and the baby was breech. We were going for blood pressure tests every 12 hours to try and get as close to term as possible. Got to 3 weeks. T-hen one day. Okay, well, we're going to deliver the baby. Now, everything flies into motion. They're prepping her while we're still talking to the on-call OBGYN. The nurses are preparing the surgery ward. I'm changing into scrubs. We go in. My wife has an epidural. I'm standing around, making everything look normal and calm, and of course dear, this is the way they always do it, sort of confidence. Then, some new guys come in. A 70-year-old taps out the younger anesthesiologist. Look at his tag. Head of anesthesiology. Same thing happens to the on-call OBGYN. They try to play it cool. You need a break, Omar. I'll take this one. They've basically swapped out everyone for the A team. Okay, so now I'm FCK, but trying to act calm. My wife starts to tremble. Never seen a 70-year-old man move that fast. He checked every line, drip, electronic device, needle and drugs on the table in about 5 seconds. It was simply nerves. She wasn't oblivious despite all the drugs, and she knew it was going to be a tough ride. 20 minutes later, we have a healthy boy, albeit a little low on weight. The worst moment of our lives has passed. All dangers averted thanks to the people who dedicated their lives to their profession. Upon reflection, I remember their sense of pride and happiness on their faces afterwards. They've been doing this every day, for decades, and yet they're still pleased as punch and highly motivated each and every day. We should all be so lucky to find professions and careers that would be so rewarding. I love babies and I love talking to people about their sex life. It was an easy decision. I'm a male medical student currently deciding what to do for the rest of my life. OB-GYN isn't in contention. Many or most of the career paths one can choose in medicine are not things you will ever truly have first-hand experience with. Most brain or heart surgeons never have their skulls or chests opened and don't know what it's like to live with the conditions they treat. Most doctors who work largely with patients with HIV/AIDS don't have first-hand experience with living with the disease. People choose OB-GYN the same way they choose any other specialty. Factors that play into this include the types of patient interactions that come with the job, the types of thinking and procedures they do, the specific surgical anatomy that's involved, the lifestyle compensation of the field, etc. Why shouldn't guys go into OB-GYN? It's an awesome combination of longitudinal care and surgery. You get to help bring life into the world on a regular basis. Being a dude doesn't preclude being a compassionate and excellent OB-GYN. Just like any human endeavor, every medical specialty has a smattering of inconsiderate, rude, nasty, and even incompetent physicians that are fortunately in the minority. When a male physician in any other specialty is one of these, he is likely to be labeled using words such as these. When he happens to be an OB-GYN, I think there's a good chance he'll be labeled ignorant and misogynistic. Excellent post. My dad did high-risk OB-GYN for years. He did it because he loved bringing babies into the world. He did high risk because he was objectively good at what he did, and he liked that he saved babies that might otherwise have died. He worked for hospitals almost his entire career. He could have gone into private practice and made serious bank, but chose to work for hospitals in order to help the less fortunate. We were comfortable, don't get me wrong, but he easily could have been making 7 figures a year for the work he did if he were in private practice. That's how I knew he did it for a passion. It also instilled those values in me. My father is college friends with a male creeper doctor. This guy sounds nothing like the professional male OB-GYNs responding to this thread. He's not an OB-GYN, but he performs colonoscopies all week long. His favorite patients are young women looking to cleanse for dieting purposes. He'll randomly call up my father to discuss these patients and it's sick. Yup, pretty sure that's illegal. I love your entertaining content. #feature me. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day you magnificent people.